This is Hidden Killers Week in Review.
A look back at the most prolific stories of the week.
They thought it was the perfect crime until the body was found. You're listening to Hidden Killers with Tony Brueski, featuring psychotherapist and author Siobhan Scott.
Let's take a look at a clip here of Robert Tellis crying in court. Of course, it's not about Jeff German. It's about himself and how sad it is that he claims he attempted to end his own life. We'll talk on the other side. Let's take a look.
This is two. This is I2. And this is J2. So I found my wife sitting on the floor in our bedroom in the middle of this mess. And so this for me was, the thing that just broke me. I'm sorry. I knew I didn't do this thing, and yet the police claim to have this evidence. They did what they did to me, and I have $1 million life insurance policy. I didn't want my family to have to go through more torture. And so I don't know what I was thinking, but I thought, you know what, if I can avoid the pain that they're going to suffer during this whole circus, then and put some money into their hands to make up for me not being there, then maybe this is the thing to do. But it was, for me, never, I'm not guilty. I didn't kill Mr. German. But as you can see, I attempted suicide.
There were no tears to wipe away, but he sure made sure to make it look like he was. What was your take on the crying scene?
Well, again, attempt to control the narrative, to gain sympathy, back to him. So yeah, completely about him. The other thing that it brought up for me was we have the term narcissistic collapse. And sometimes when a narcissist is busted, they've been fired or their trophy wife has left them and they're suffering some sort of embarrassment or humiliation, they do go into this sense of being in extreme pain. And if you ever get one in therapy, that's when they come in, when something has gone wrong. But then their goal is just to come in and talk about how unfairly treated they have been and to talk about their grievances against everybody who's ever wronged them. So it's not ever to look at themselves and to try to do personal growth or personal change. It's not really to learn anything. And it's basically to have an audience. And I had the sense he's using the jury in that way as his audience.
Narcissistic collapse. I didn't know that one. Fascinated by it.
Yeah, and it doesn't last very long usually because they get a little bit of attention in some way, they feel better, and then they go right back to the routine. But yeah, narcissistic collapse, that's, if he really did go into a day or an hour of despair, it was because it's like, the gig is up here. I'm caught.
Is that, could it also demonstrate itself, obviously that was violent and him trying to kill himself. Does it also, display itself in other ways as well, where maybe they do lash out at other people during that collapse once they kind of realize the jig is up and the person that they're feeding off of has said, okay, I'm done. This is no more.
Yeah. And in all likelihood, the violence against Mr. Gehrman was a precursor to that kind of collapse because, the mask was being pulled off and he was being exposed for who he is.
And Gehrman was the one that was pulling that mask off.
Yeah.
Interesting. Wow. That answers a lot of questions in my own mind of my own situations in life of like, oh, that's what that was. Not that I've done it, but that I've witnessed in some things. Very fascinating.
You're neck deep in a dark, twisted tale. And just as the tension peaks, bam, a commercial about some miracle diet pill breaks the spell. It's like finding a fly in your soup after the first bite. But here's the fix. True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts. You get to enjoy your crime stories without the junk. Ad-free episodes, extended interviews that go beyond the surface, and early access to all the gruesome details. It's like swapping out a can of cheap beer for a glass of fine whiskey. So search for True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts. Subscribe and keep the darkness flowing uninterrupted.